Troy and I would like to welcome you all to today's 1:30 p.m. session, which will be covering general medical terminology. I'm going to go ahead and read our disclaimer before we get started. The WildTech DCC in your iPad program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health, well-being information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on the information, any applications, or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owners, or presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or legal advice. Thank you so much for letting me read the disclaimer. Just keep in mind if you have any TVs or cell phones on in the background so that we can give others and most importantly ourselves the most immersive experience. And if you can't see us, hear us, or see the screen, please let us know in the chat. I would appreciate that. And again, Tori, if you could give an introduction of yourself and what you'll be covering today, we'd appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming on to today's session.
Sure. Thank you, Alex. Hi, everybody. So Alex, I'm still seeing your screen. And is that?
Yes, I was just showcasing it.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There I am. Ooh, big. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Tori. I think I've met most of you before. I'm an occupational therapist in the area and specialize in working with people in their homes. A little bit of health and general wellness is sort of my passion. So that's why I'm here today. How's everybody doing? Good. I'm going to unblur my background because I feel like I'm always floating in space. There we go. You get to see the bedroom. So I apologize that I missed in March. Do you guys, can anybody tell me what you did in March so that I know what you guys covered? If you remember.
Tori, everyone is muted in Zoom. So if you could raise your hand by hitting more and then raise hand, we'd really appreciate that. So in lieu of Tori's session, I know our colleague assisted with that session last month. Do y'all remember what you all covered? Okay, Miss Foster, what did you all cover last month? Do you remember that day? You got to hit unmute in the middle, Miss Foster.
No, I don't.
That's okay. I was gonna say if you don't remember, that's okay. I had sent a few links to videos. I wasn't sure if you had done it, if anybody remembers doing them, and if you liked them or not. That was what I was kind of asking. Miss Solomon, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. You got to hit unmute in the middle, Miss Solomon.
Yes. Hello. Yes.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Did you guys do any exercise videos? Do you remember from the last month?
I don't remember because I'm not on every day.
Okay, no problem. Okay, well, so we have a couple of options today. I thought what we might start out with, because a lot of what I talk to you guys about is based on my life experience, not only work, but also personally. And I accompanied my mother to her physical on Tuesday. And it made me realize that I suspect when people go to the doctors, sometimes you might not get across all the information you want to get across to them, and vice versa. You might hear things from them and not understand it or not feel like you're getting the answers that you need. So I thought maybe that I would open the floor up to you guys to tell me, number one, bring it to thank you, Mr. Just. If you wanted me to, so there's a couple of ways we can handle this. I wanted to actually just open it up to the floor, if that's okay, for you to share with me maybe some questions you might have, either from going to your doctor's appointments or maybe some of the terms that they use when you go there, and start the conversation that way. And then I can shape it from there, because I have some things to share with you, but we may just cover that based on your questions. So if that works, raise your hand and let me know, like, if you have good experiences with your doctors, if you don't have good experiences, like what kind of questions you have, and let's try that. And I'm not seeing hands. I'm going to change my view to Miss Jarrett. You see your hand is raised.
Oh, yes, I have good experience with my doctors, all four of my main doctors. And if anything come up, I know who to call, if it's an emergency or not. But I have dynamite experience with my doctors and
Oh,
all.
good. Good.
Mhm.
Now, when you go to see your doctors, do you feel like you can remember everything you want to ask them and everything that they tell you? Do you just generally, do you have any
Well,
strategies for that?
yeah, well, most of my best strategy is that I would write down. I would write it down, all what I'm giving to ask them for what this time and all, and everything that we talked about. They will give me a copy of it and
Okay.
everything, so I get a history of every visit, and all what's going on. I get the good part, the bad part, what I got to do next, and all like that. So it keeps me updated. But most of the time, because I'm a herbs person. So, by me, when they put me on my pressure medicine, I want to know, can I take my pressure medicine, and also do the garlic tablets? Can I do garlic tablets, the pressure medicine in the morning, garlic tablets at night, at least 12 hours apart? And they say, sure, you can do it. It'll help, balance it. And sure enough, I've been doing the garlic now, 10 years? Because I'm trying to get get the pressure pill cut down and all like that. So it's things like that, and everything, like if I have a problem, that I can't deal with, and I want to, talk to somebody that's not going to tell my secret, I'll text my doctor. I email my doctor.
Okay.
I will email my doctor, or one of the vice nurses. I adopted her as my daughter. So I will email them to get an answer, even on my personal, part of life. And also, I love the way they communicate with me at my doctors and all.
Oh,
So
I'm
I
so
have
happy
no
for you.
complaints.
That's great, Miss Jarrett. I'm so happy for you. I don't know that that's everybody's experience. So I'm happy that you have that relationship with your doctors. And I like the strategy that you write things down. If you have specific questions, that's why I went on the appointment with my mother, because I have told her to write things down, and she she doesn't always. I think what's interesting about my mother, I'll share this experience with you. When we go to the doctor's office, they take her blood pressure there, and it's almost consistently very high, like
Yeah.
130, 140, 150 over like 80, 90. But she takes it at home and it's
It's low.
completely normal. Yeah. So I have told her to make sure that we know when we go to, because they have in the past prescribed her medication thinking that that's her normal blood pressure, which then had bad consequences because her blood pressure was normal and she actually went low. So it's really important that you write things down, that you bring information with you from home to your appointment so that you can share that with them.
Yeah, but dealing with that blood pressure, I had a experience that, well, before I was able, I had a fall. So that fall put me in living with one of my children. That automatically took me out being independent on my own. So every time I would go to the doctor on public transportation, get there on time, give me a 15 minutes, rest, go in there and take my pressure. I'm dying. It'd be so high, I have to wait until it go back down.
Yeah.
And they don't trust it. They'll tell me come back 2 days, just walk in there, get my pressure taken and all. But like I told them, that come from me walking from the bus stop, coming all the way in this building. That's what that come from me moving,
Right.
And
Right.
to get right back home with my machine, I'm okay.
Right. Right. That's exactly right. Thank you for sharing that, Miss Jarrett. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the same experience that my mom's having. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about blood pressure as we go on. But Ms. McManus, you have your hand raised.
Oh, thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Ms.
Jarrett.
Jarrett.
Just to reiterate, Tori, so you're asking the group their experience with the doctor, but maybe some specific terminology they may have used that they don't understand, they want to learn more about. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Any of those. Yep.
Okay, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So much. Hey Brenda, what is
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Tori.
Hi, Brenda.
Tori, you know what? I too have a good relationship with my primary care physician. I just went into the doctor and I had a lot of tests done, and they send me the test results right away, which I like. I think it's great. But I mean, I don't understand a lot of it, of what they're saying. Like they did the urine albumin creatine ratio. I don't know what that is, and I don't know if it's my results are good or bad. So maybe you can help me understand that.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. So yeah, there are a lot of lab tests that I don't understand either, but that one I know is relating to your kidney function.
Okay.
So looking at your kidney function. When you see the results on the form that they give you, do they give you a range and say, is there like an H or an L next to it?
Yeah, they did give me a range. The range they saying the normal range is 0.0 to 2.0, but I'm in the 3.6, so I guess that's pretty high.
And is there like an H that's high, like next to it?
No.
Like that? Nope. So it's interesting. First of all, I meant to say this. Thank you, Alex, for reading the disclaimer. As you all know, I'm not a doctor. So please follow up with your physicians based on no matter what I say. But that's a really good thing. So funny you say that, actually, Ms. McManus, because my mother as well had levels that were outside of that norm on her lab results. And when we went to the doctor, I thought she was specifically, hers was vitamin D was low. And so I thought she was going to mention it. And in fact, she just was like, everything is great. Don't worry about it. And we asked about the vitamin D and she said, nope, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. So I think even though there are norms, there's good for you to pay attention to. And maybe that's something that you can contact your doctor and say, I noticed that this particular lab value is outside of the norm. You know, what does that mean? And have them explain that to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes that I always heard this, and you all may know this too, that medicine is a little combination of science and art, right? And we're all so different. And I think different physicians have different tolerances for things and may treat people differently as a result of that. So, but still, I think if you notice anything like that, that's a good question to ask. Like, I notice I'm high. What does that mean?
Well, with the results, they send it to my doctor immediately. So I have a record of it and she has a record of it as well. So, this is a follow-up to a physical I had. So I'm sure they'll be in touch with me to come back in, or, if I need to do something to lower that, to get that level down to the normal level. So
yeah. But it's good to notice it for sure. Yeah, so anything with creatine and urine and all that's all part of your kidney functions.
Kidney function. Okay. I didn't know what it was. So okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Miss Webb, I think, was next, right, Alex?
Yep. Thank you, Brenda. Yep. Next is Gracie. And just technology is your friend, you all. If you get any kind of document or things of that nature and you don't understand it, technology is your friend, and being able to search for different things. There's a lot of great resources out there too, as well. So yeah. Gracie, did you want to share something? Your experience with the doctor,
Yes.
medical terminologies that you want to know more about?
I want to tell Tori, thank you. Remember when you came on and taught us how to fall if we're falling? About 2 weeks later, I was home alone and I fell and I was going face down. And I remember what you said, and somehow I was able to shift my body and I ended up falling to the side.
Oh.
I hurt myself, but not as bad as if my face had hit that floor. So I'm taking care of my sick son, but I wanted to come on to tell you thank you, because I remembered that and it really helped me.
Okay.
And I knew how to turn over, like you said, till I was able to get on my knees and get up, because I was home alone. And a bad thing, everybody on my floor was away and on vacation. And I was up here by myself, but I was able to get up and call the doctor and everything. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webb, for sharing. I'm glad. I'm so grateful.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for sharing, Gracie. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the last question?
Yeah, no more hands, but thank you all so much for sharing so far.
Yeah, thank you. So I thought maybe I would just go over a couple of things that I feel like a lot of us are dealing with, whether we're taking medications or we have family taking medications for these particular particular conditions that we may have. So I know blood pressure is a big thing for a lot of us. And most of the people I meet with are taking blood pressure medications. So I don't know if you know, but historically, well, if you know, normal blood pressure is supposed to be 120/80, right? I don't know if you all know that that's basically where everybody wants to be. And for a little while there, they thought as we got older, you could tolerate a higher blood pressure. So they were starting to be less aggressive with medications for older adults because they thought that the side effects from the medications were greater than the benefits that they were getting for lowering the blood pressure. But they've changed that recommendation again fairly recently within the past couple of years. And regardless of our age, that target of about 120 or so over 80 is still the same target, no matter how old you are. So I just wanted to share that with you because I don't know if you'd heard, like it's been sort of conflicting and changing information over the past couple of years. And really the reason the doctor is concerned about any side effects from the blood pressure medications. So I wanted to throw that out there. I mean, has anybody had any side effects from their blood pressure medications, or any tips you want to share about how you manage those side effects? Because taking the medications is obviously very important.
Again, if you would like to share, please tap more at the top right and then tap raise hand if you'd like to respond.
Okay, so one thing that people will tell me a lot with the medications is, particularly if you're taking the water pills, right, is that you have to get up to go use the bathroom too much. And then I think we've talked about this. People will avoid drinking because they don't want to get up and go to the bathroom. So we've talked about the importance of staying hydrated, right? So, but if you're feeling like you're not, if it's interrupting your sleep at night, you might want to talk to your doctor about what time you can take that diuretic, right? Additionally, if you have any side effects that maybe you get like a little lightheaded or anything from your blood pressure medication, maybe you take those at night if you sleep through the night, so that you don't have to worry about getting up and being dizzy. So just really having a very open conversation with your doctors about your side effects and how they can change maybe the time of day you take them, or what you're taking them with, to make sure it's not putting you at risk for falls. Okay. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the A1C. So it sounds to me like anybody who has diabetes seems to be very familiar with what that means, but it was a new term to me. I always knew when I worked in the hospital, we used to always just measure blood glucose levels. So just briefly, I'll just share with you what I understand A1C is, and see if anybody has any questions about that. But before A1C became a test that's done regularly, we would all just get blood glucose tests done at our doctor's offices, right? And the blood glucose test is literally just how much sugar you have in your blood at that moment in time, right? And they found that that's not sufficient enough to really give a picture of what a person's life is like, because you might just be really, really hungry at that moment and have low blood sugar, or you may have just had a candy bar and had high blood sugar, and that may or may not be significant really as to how your body is all the time. So the A1C test is actually a blood test to see how much blood sugar is remaining attached to a protein in your blood. And it gives a much bigger picture of about 2 to 3 months range of your blood sugar. So it's way more accurate to see how your body processes blood sugar. And so that's why they've moved to the A1C test. It's just a much broader picture of how your body's processing sugar. Does anybody have any questions about that, or Okay, the one, Ms. McManus.
Well, Tori, I had all of these lab tests done, and they gave me all of my results, and I'm looking at them, and a few are in the normal range. There's only one that's like a little outside I guess the abnormal range. So, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm good or what. I mean, most of them are within the normal range. It's only like two of them. One is, well, this one says RBC Auto, and it's showing the normal range 3.93 to 5.22, and I'm at 3.85. And then the MCV, whatever that is, the range is 79.4 to 101.0, and I'm at 101.6. So I don't know what these initials stand for, MZV. Yeah, I don't know what they stand for, and if that's good or what.
So again, I would say that a couple of things. Like if anything was really alarming, certainly I think your doctor would contact you for sure. Like I feel like that's typically what happens when things are alarming. But do you have the kind of are you able to email your doctor or get in contact with them like in a non-urgent fashion, or are you planning
yeah,
to
definitely,
So you
yeah.
could always just shoot him an email and just say, listen, I noticed that these things are a little outside of the norm. Can you just explain to me what that is, and if there's any concern? Yeah, I would do that.
And I do take the glucose test every morning, and I write my results down. When I went to the doctor last time, they told me if my level get up to like 146, that I should contact them, but it's never been that high. So
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
that's a good point. Right. So regardless of the A1C test that they take at the doctor's office, if you're monitoring your blood glucose at home, that's a good thing to do, because you're seeing your trends every single day. It's just that if you have that one-time blood glucose test at the doctor's office, they're not seeing your trend. But for you to do it every day makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. All right. Thank you, Ms. McManus.
Thank you.
Ms. Green? Ms. Green, are you there?
Okay.
There you are.
Okay, so it's the same as you were saying, the blood pressure graph changed over the years. Well, when I was initially diagnosed with diabetes, my A1C was 6.5, and my doctor told me, well, let me back up. It was the last time I went back in the day, it was 6.5, and she said, you're pre-diabetic, so we have to watch you. So about 2 months later, she called me and said she'd gone to a conference, and now 6.5 is diabetes. So now you need to come in and have medicine. So since then, for the last 10 years, I've been monitoring mine and dieting and exercising, and I don't take medicine.
Oh,
but as you said, they changed the high blood pressure levels. I also heard when you're over 70, that the A1C could be a little higher than 6.5, and you're still okay. Have you heard anything like that?
Oh, you know what? I haven't. I'm looking at this. I looked at the A1C from the CDC is what I looked at. And they don't have anything for age. No, I don't see that. That's interesting though.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they definitely don't. They just have it exactly like you said, at 6.5 or higher is they're calling diabetes, and up to 6.4 is pre-diabetes. You're right. Yeah. But I think you're right. Like, I think with a lot of things, I think it's a relatively new, they're collecting a lot of the data on it now. So that I think there still may be changes over time with it, because it's a relatively new measure for diabetes. So I imagine there'll be constant updates to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Ms. Thompson, did you want to share?
How you doing today?
Hi, Ms. Thompson.
Good. When they do the scales and they say diabetes should be 120/80, you talk about the A1C level is 0.5 or 6 point whatever. Where did they get those numbers from? How
Wow,
did they do that?
that's a good question. So, I know for the blood pressure, the A1C, I don't know for sure. I would assume it's kind of the same thing. So you're asking like, where do those specific number recommendations come from? Like what gave them that knowledge? So I know for the blood pressure that what they've done over many, many years is that they follow people. They have like what they call longitudinal studies. So they follow people from a certain age all the way to, however long, 20, 30, 40 years. And they'll see how people with certain blood pressures, what things might happen to them based on their blood pressure. So that is specifically why they changed it back to the younger blood pressure, because they had done a study for people that they were targeting their blood pressure to come down to 140, and they were targeting another group's blood pressure to come down to 120. The people who had the 140 had more incidences of strokes and heart attacks and things like that. So they follow people, they follow their blood pressure, and they see what incidences or events might happen to them. And then based on all of that data, they say, okay, for most people, if you're in this range, you will likely not have adverse side effects. So it's really just them year after year after year, just gathering a lot of data and watching people to see what is normal and what leads to additional complications where they come up with that. But it's an ever-changing science because, like I said, it's not, our bodies are so unique and wonderful and mysterious that, I think that as science progresses, things will always sort of just continue to evolve. I mean, you all probably know, right, from growing up, you could eat butter and eggs, and then you couldn't eat butter and eggs, and now you can eat butter and eggs again. And we don't it always things are always changing. But those numbers really come from a large aggregate of people who they've watched over the years to see what consequences are of being within those different number ranges. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I think unfortunately too, a lot of the data historically was not done across different races. And I think they realize that maybe that there's some difference based on us genetically. But I think the good news is that they're trying to be more diverse in their studies right now. And I think the future really is that that they're going to be able to hone in a bit more to our specific genetic makeup and what is really appropriate for us. But I think that's down the road, probably for our grandkids.
Because growing up, mine was always 170, no, 110/70.
Okay.
And now it's 125/67.
Okay.
So, but I take diabetic medicine, pressure medicine.
Okay.
And I had a stroke and went to the hospital. It was kind of high. They put me on extra medicine and it went low. The bottom numbers were in the 50s. And so they took me off some of the medicine, brought me back down to 20 milligrams. And now it's 125/60 some. I'm like, it varies.
It does.
It never goes very high anymore. It's what I eat. I watch what I eat. And so I guess I look at some people, the way you were raised, or you look at your family. And my mother had high blood pressure. My father didn't. My mother had diabetes. My father didn't at first. My father ended up on insulin. My mother always took pills. I took insulin for about 10 years. And now I've been off of insulin for about 4 months.
Okay, good.
Because of what I eat and what I watch. And I take my medicine.
Okay, good.
But I look at, I think it's your culture, what you grew up on,
Mhm.
and I look at race, your generation, I look at all of that and put it
Mhm.
together. And that's why I always wonder where they get the numbers from.
That's a good question, Ms. Thompson. And so that a lot of what you said makes sense. So I think there's such a huge, like you said, cultural component to it. There's a genetic component to it for sure. You know, like what your genes, because a lot of times those cardiovascular conditions run in families or don't run in families, depending. And the data is really based on like the norm. So I think if you can imagine, like, you know, you've ever seen like bell curves like that. So, you know, like the norm is up here. That's like the 120/80, but there's going to be people on either side of that maybe just fine. Like you said, like based on your family history, on how your diet is, how your body is. So certainly knowing that that's the target, but working with your doctors to where you feel comfortable, right? And to what's your normal for Ms. Thompson. That's really important. And I think, as Ms. Jarrett said, particularly with blood pressure, although probably with sugar too, keeping a log at home is really important, because the doctors only know what they see in the office. And if you're, if you're nervous or anxious and your blood pressure is high, they may adjust your medications based on that, and that may not be what haven't eaten and your blood sugar is low, they may change something. So you really do want to try to keep track of those things at home and bring that information with you so that they know where you stand most of the time. I think that's really important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brenda.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, no more so far.
Okay. 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 So, well, thank you everybody for sharing. So I think what from the conversation, I just want to wrap up. So the numbers and the information are based on data like we talked about, and what's normal may not be normal for you. So making sure you're working with your doctors about that and what makes you feel comfortable. Keeping track of your history and how, you know, what your readings are, whether it's your sugar or your blood pressure, writing that down and taking it with you to the doctors, as well as any side effects from any of those medications that you have, so they can adjust it accordingly, to make sure they're not putting you at risk for something else. Because the last thing you want is for your blood pressure medication to make you fall, and then you go through all those consequences like we've talked about. So, and I don't know if we spoke about this or not last time, but I think I've told you before that as we get older, this is going to sound terrible, but it happens to all of us. Things like we're just not as elastic as we used to be. And you know this from your skin, right? Like your skin's just not as elastic as it used to be. And that's why we all have various effects of gravity happening on our bodies. But that elasticity is the same inside your body. So that's why, like, for example, the lens in your eyeball is not as elastic as it used to be. So it can't accommodate to changes in light as easily as it used to when we were kids. And so that's why it's more difficult. Okay, Ms. Hawkins, I saw you. I'll answer that one moment. So that's why it's more difficult, or why you might need more light and things like that. Our blood vessels are less elastic than when we were kids. And so that's why as we get older, our blood pressure goes higher because we don't have that same elasticity in our blood vessels. So all of that is normal. It's a normal part of aging, and why we're all dealing with that. But to be keeping hydrated and keeping your doctors apprised of how you're feeling is really important. There was a question about walking. I think I saw that. How effective is walking as a major exercise? Oh, let's go back to everything. Better eating habits. Exercise helps tremendously with these ailments. Even a little change in your habit. That's Mr. Jess. I agree. We've talked about that. We've talked about exercise helping, eating, hydration. I will say hydration over and over and over again because it's so huge. It's so important for everything. I see a hand, but let me answer this question. How effective is walking as a major exercise? Well, that's a good question. The studies show that walking alone is fine, but not enough. You have to, in addition to walking, you have to do the other exercises of strengthening, balance, and cardio, which you might be able to get the cardio with the walking. So getting your heart rate up a little bit, but you absolutely need to incorporate strength and balance in addition to walking. So walking, I would tell you definitely continue the walking, but add those other components to it if you really want to have the most effective exercise program. Did that answer the question? Okay. Yes, we have a hand up.
Yes, Mrs. Stephen, did you have a question for Tori? Did you want to answer the question she previously asked a little bit ago?
I just wanted to make some comments about falling and walking. I was a professional dancer for over 15 years. I was completely dedicated, and it was my life. One of the most important parts of preventing from falling is down by our feet. And there's a tendon on the lateral aspect of the ankle that when that is strong, that tendon, that it's right from I don't know what the bone is, I can't remember, but the outside of the ankle bone on the outside, that tendon right there, when that tendon is strong, then you have less chance of falling. That's especially when, well, versus standing when you're walking, or walking quickly, or even running. That has to be, when I was dancing, that tendon was like a nail. It was so strong. And I remember falling once. I did a large grand jeté, and I landed, and instead of the tendons or the muscles tearing, the soft tissue tearing, I chipped a bone. That's how strong my muscles were. And as I said, I was extremely dedicated. So another thing I'd like to talk about, it just mentioned about the medical industry, and my late wife was misdiagnosed for 3 years and collapsed at 86 pounds with 18% lung capacity from inhaling fumes in a university teaching art, fine art, painting. And you know, doctors rely on, a lot of doctors rely on studies, and these studies were done on other people in different times in different places. So I agree with the last person that was commenting, that, and also you, that the first thing, you have to know yourself. You have to be observant and have self-awareness, body awareness, mind awareness, time, awareness of time. All of these are very, very important factors. And the more awareness, it's just not boom, a click, and one has awareness. It is ongoing, because everything around us is changing, just as we are changing. And my mind just went blank, which I don't like. And I'm, oh,
Well, if I can echo what you're saying, Mr. Stephen, and maybe if you remember what you were going to say out, you can jump back in. But yes, I 100% agree. We've talked about mindfulness before, and that mindfulness is not only mindfulness as like what we imagine that to be with like meditation and that sort of stuff, but being mindful of your body and how you're feeling at all times, because that's so important. You know, like Mr. Stephen said, and like I said, your doctors are they're only going to be as good as the information you share with them. So you need to share about yourself, about your history. I would encourage you to advocate for yourself. And if you're not comfortable in that position, bringing along somebody who can help advocate for you, because I think that sometimes there's a lot of what's the word I want to say? There's a term for it. It's like white coat something or another, but where doctors have this like high level of authority and people just listen to them. And while yes, they've gone to school and they've trained, you know your body. So it's very important that if you have any questions, if you feel uncomfortable with what they're saying, you don't understand why they prescribed a medication or why they're changing a medication or any of those things, please feel empowered to ask them. And if you don't remember to ask them at that moment and you get home and you're like, I don't think I want to do that, contact them, have somebody in your family contact them, whatever you need to do, because you're your best advocate, right? You're your best advocate in taking care of yourself and exercising, which has balance, strength, like Mr. Steven, your ankle. Remember we talked about ankle range of motion. Paying attention to yourself, like Ms. Thompson said, controlling your diet, all those things. But you're also an advocate for yourself at the doctor's office. So don't let that white coat intimidate you, please. Like, make sure you speak up for yourself and you ask the questions that are important to you, okay? Thank you, Mr. Steven. If there's anything else you want to add, go ahead. I appreciate that.
We have two hands. I'm not sure. You just having people echo maybe something someone said, or just having a conversation, just again so that we're on the same page. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Yeah, my Thursdays are always pretty more conversational, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And don't and then I have the poll ready at the end. So whenever we're ready, before our end time, we're ready for the poll for
Okay.
next
We
time.
end at what time do we end, Alex?
Around 2:30 or so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so but it won't be long, but just
Okay.
keep in mind. Next up we have Miss Deborah. Did you want to echo someone said, or had some medical terminology, and any response to what folks have been sharing? You got to hit unmute in the middle. Ms. Deborah, you got to hit unmute in the middle, please. All right, Ms. Deborah, if you are able to unmute, we'll be able to see that. Anne, did you want to share something or echo something from today's session?
Yes, I just wanted to, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
No, we can.
I'm
Good,
sorry,
Ann.
my thing popped back on mute, so I just thought I was muted again. I just wanted to thank you, Tori, for helping with the get up exercises and stuff. Because my physical therapist told me that that was some good stuff that you were teaching. and he said he's going to start using some of your techniques because they seem to have been helping me better than what he was doing. So I just wanted to pass that on to you. And I also taught my niece who broke her ankle playing soccer to get up off the floor the way rolling, and because I can't get up on my knee, and she couldn't get up on her knee either. So we practiced that. So I wanted to thank you for that because it really helped me.
Oh, thank you.
And I have white coat syndrome real bad, and I get really upset when I see the doctor. So I'm working on that, and I'm doing. I think you mentioned meditation one time, and I'm doing that, meditating before I go to the doctor's, the week before or a couple of days before, and I found out it does help.
Oh,
because
good.
yeah, I get a little frustrated when they're trying to tell me something, and I'm telling you, I don't need that. My pressure has not been over this for a while. But what I couldn't understand when I saw my heart doctor the other day is she put me on a heart monitor, but my heart was beating fine. My pressure was a little, and she said she took that to be because I was stressed about coming to see her. But this was a little higher than it usually is, because my pressure has been 119 or 120 over between 66 and 86. But she said my what did she call it?
Your heart rate?
Yeah, my heart rate was good and everything, but I had like it was something that was low. The bottom pressure.
Oh, okay.
was low.
Okay.
And so she put me on a monitor because they couldn't understand why everything else was as usual. But that was a little, and that was the first time she had seen that. So,
Okay. Well, thanks, Miss Ann. I'm glad you're working on your white coat syndrome. That is what it's called. Thank you. I knew there was a name.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing better. I'm doing
Good.
better.
Good. Good.
But
And and if
thank you, and I hope you come again because even if we talk about the same thing, it's good to go over it sometimes because sometimes we forget stuff.
okay, good to know. Thank you. And we're gonna have a poll at the end for other thoughts I had. But if you want to continue talking about the fall stuff, maybe we should do a refresher about that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Miss Ann.
And, again, Miss Edge, did you want to echo
All right,
something
I
that
think
someone
I'm
said?
finally unmuted,
Yep.
Alex.
You
I think
are.
Yes,
we
Miss,
were both trying at the same time. Can you hear me?
yes, Edge, you're good.
I was asking about the gentleman who was talking about dancing professionally, and I may have missed the sessions where you guys had gone over there, but does he have recommendations like um, heel raises or something like that that we can do to strengthen our ankles to prevent falling?
So I can, yeah, Mr. Stephen, if you want to come back on, but I'll also put I think I have a link for ankle exercises that I want to put in the chat for you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. One thing I would say, and then we'll have Miss Green and then maybe Mr. Stephen, if you have anything to add, but I make sure you're doing is for sure, is that you're moving your ankle. So not a lot of times when you go to the gym or you do anything, like they have you move your ankle up and down, right? Or a lot of times up, right? They call them ankle pumps. So imagine this is my foot. And while that's good, you're not getting those sideways movements that Mr. Stephen was talking about. So a lot of times what I have people do is like, imagine your big toe is a pencil and you want to write your name with your big toe. And that way you're going to get all this range of motion in your foot because you want to make sure you're strengthening side to side, up and down, and every which way that you're strengthening and keeping range of motion in your ankle. So think about that. Think about your foot and that your toe is a pencil and you're going to keep your leg still. You don't want to move your leg and you write your name with your foot. Okay. So Miss Edge, Deborah is going to be a long name. So you're going to do like a D. Does that make sense?
Yes, it absolutely does. And adding to that, I thought I had broken my big toe, but I think I'm reacting to lack of motion in that because I've been given a series of PT exercises where I have to do something plank-like, and I think I'm putting too much pressure on the big toe. So I was trying to find something I could do to counter that, to strengthen that toe.
Well, ask the PT about that because if something they gave you is aggravating it, make sure that you.
Oh
and
yeah,
you let
believe
them
me,
know.
I told her,
Okay.
but I was, trying to be proactive, as they say.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And the nice thing about doing what I showed you is that you can do it while you're sitting down. And there shouldn't be any pressure on your toes. It's all coming from your ankles. So just while you're sitting watching TV, do the alphabet, write your name, do something like that with your foot.
That sounds great. And I thought about they had this big I think they broke a record yesterday with the young girls doing ballet. So I said, maybe I should get toe guards like the ballerinas. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Miss Deborah. Really appreciate it. As you said, Tori, we'll have Miss Burnett come on next, and then probably by that time we'll just have a couple of minutes left for the poll, kind of for you to explain, some of the options on the poll, and for us to complete it as well. But if you all have any more thoughts, you could also put in the chat, and that way you could also share your thoughts with the group as well. But Miss Burnett, did you want to share something? And maybe
Yes,
today?
just this morning on the news, a psychiatrist was there, and they were saying how important it is for everyone to have good mental health. But when you go to your primary care, the same way they take care of your physical health, and they'll say, have you seen your eye doctor? Do you go to the dentist? Why don't they ever refer you or check your mental status? As they were saying on the news today, that it's important that everyone should have a therapist and how to interview your therapist. Well, no one's ever suggested that to me, and I'm just throwing it out there. but it piqued my interest this morning.
That's a really good point, Ms. Green. I'm glad you said that. I agree. I agree. You know, and that it's actually so interesting that you say that. Again, I'm going back to my mother's appointment, and my mother might die. She knew I share all this information with you guys. I can't let you meet her, but my mother has had anxiety her whole life, and it's getting worse as she gets older, as it typically does with anxiety, particularly. And her doctor, and it's on her chart, and it wasn't even a question that came up yesterday. And actually, I think of all the things that my mom might be dealing with, like that is probably the most debilitating, because it prevents her from doing stuff, and then she gets weaker and she gets sad. So thank you, Mr. Jitz. So I think that's a really good point, but I think what you bring up, Ms. Green, is that just because they're not asking you about it, you can bring it up to them, right? So if you're feeling like you're feeling sad, or you're feeling anxious, or you're having any concerns about your mental health or your state of being or your emotional state of being, you know, certainly mention it to them. My impression is a lot of the physical medicine doctors are a little uncomfortable with mental health, and they don't know how to manage it. Hopefully that's changing, though. Hopefully the newer generation of physicians, that's changing. But thank you so much for bringing that up. And again, it just points to knowing yourself and advocating for yourself when you're at the doctor's office.
Okay, thank you for that. And you know, I think I will, because I'm getting anxious about driving these days. And a few of my friends have said to me, you need to go see a therapist. So I think the next time I might mention that to my primary care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anxiety is something that happens a lot as we get older, because it makes sense, because we're feeling more vulnerable. Our bodies are changing, our support systems are changing. You know, so much is changing around us that anxiety and depression are quite prevalent as we get older, and nothing to be ashamed about. Certainly getting help for it is a good thing.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. I appreciate it.
Before we do the poll real quick, Alex, can I show one quick thing?
No problem.
I have something called, we've talked about this before. It goes back to the exercise that we've talked about. And I do believe that we've talked about something called sarcopenia. But what it is, it's a normal weakening of your muscles. It happens to a lot of us as we get older, but it can sometimes happen faster in people than other people. So there's this 5-question screen that I'm going to show you. I'm going to share my screen. And I want you all to take it and keep the information to yourself. We don't need to share it, mostly because we don't have time. But if you do score 4 or more on this screen, it means that you've got some weakness in your legs. And that is something that you should mention to your doctor, to either get physical therapy, or maybe to go to one of the wellness centers and start one of the strengthening programs. But this is a really good screening for you to see where you're at, okay? So I'm just gonna share this screen. All right, can everybody see the first question? So it's very simple. It's, how much difficulty do you have in lifting and carrying 10 pounds? So you can see if can everybody see their choices? You have no difficulty, it's 0, some difficulty 1, a lot, or unable is 2. 10 pounds, it's kind of hard to even know what that means, but think about 2 gallons of milk. That's about 10 pounds. So could you carry 2 gallons of milk? All right, question number 2. How much difficulty do you have walking across the room? And none is 0, some 1, a lot, or even if you use a cane or a walker, you get 2 for that. All right. Rising from a chair. How much difficulty do you have transferring from a chair or a bed? None, 0. Some, I would say give yourself a 1 if you have to use your arms. We've talked about that before. So using your arms means you need a little bit of help. So give yourself a 1. And if you're unable to, or you really can't do it, you give yourself a 2. All right, climbing stairs. How much difficulty do you have climbing a flight of 10 stairs? right, and the last one, how many times have you fallen in the past year? So none is 0, 1 to 3, you get 1, 4 or more is 2. So this is an evidence-based test to see where you it's a screening, not a test, it's a screening questions. See if you have potentially some issues with leg weakness. And really, as you can see there, it says data suggests that a score of 4 or more predicts the need for further, more comprehensive evaluation. So what that specifically really means as far as leg strength would be physical therapy. Okay. I'm going to unshare now, and then oops, if anybody has any questions about that, let me know. But I wanted to share that with you because I just found that recently. I thought it was pretty good.
Thank you so much for that, Tori. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about more about the poll, about kind of what you want to, what kind of information or you want, or some tips or anything you'd like to share on it before we start it? But let's all make sure we're in Zoom so we all can fill out the poll.
All right, so I have really appreciated my Thursdays talking with you, and Miss Leach, you're the reason I'm here. So thank you, Miss Leach. I can see you down there in the corner. I feel like I've talked about the same thing a lot. So I wanted to see if there was anything else you're interested in. I had some topics in mind. So Alex is going to share a poll with you to see if the other things that I had in mind might be interesting to you. You can also, Alex, do they have the ability to write in on the poll or to put in, maybe just put in the chat if there's anything that's not on their list that they want to talk about on these sessions?
Oh, you read my mind. I wasn't able to add a other in the poll, so I was going to say if you wanted another topic, please put that in the chat. I'll be able to save the chat, and of course the poll for our next sessions. So yeah, I can go ahead and launch it now. And let's again all make sure that we are in Zoom to fill it out. So I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And again, it's asking, what topic are you most interested in learning more about from Tori? So either general nutrition for wellness and fall risk management, mindfulness for wellness, reviewing common medical terminology, or reviewing typical changes in our bodies as we age. So the one that you are most interested in learning more about, please make sure you select that option and then hit submit. And that way we'll be able to see what you guys are interested in. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. While folks fill out the poll, Tori, any final thoughts or anything that stuck out to you today that you heard? Anything that rung a bell?
Yeah, well, thank you again for everybody participating. I feel like we all learned so much from each other during these Thursdays. So just really to review, again, you are your best advocate, right? So you're your best advocate for your own body and taking care of your own health. That means exercise, good nutrition, getting good sleep, monitoring your mental health, but also advocating for yourself with the physicians. Make sure that you feel comfortable with that because as Mr. Stevens said, they work for us. You're hiring that physician. So you're paying that physician, whether it's through Medicare or not, you're paying for their service. So it's totally within your right to make sure you're advocating and understand. And if you have difficulty with that, Ms. Ann said you were meditating, which is a fabulous idea to try to manage that anxiety. You can also see if you can bring a family member along or even put some family member on the phone. Sometimes I've had, my dad was in Florida, they would call me on the phone and I could, help here and do it that way. So it's not even that you have to have a person in the office with you. You can have somebody on the phone. So make sure you feel comfortable and you're getting the answers that you want, okay?
Thank you so much, Tori. We have 75% that have filled it out. Thank you so much. 75%. We still have a couple of folks on. So again, make sure you all are in Zoom to select which topic you're most interested from the list you see on the screen, and make sure to hit submit poll to let us know how you felt about today's session.
More chair exercises too. Okay. Was it you're interested in all, Miss Dennis? Okay. All right. More chair exercises. So maybe what we can do is next time we can maybe some breathing exercises. Okay. So maybe what we'll do for these sessions going forward is we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes in the beginning doing some sort of exercise, whether it's breathing or chair or something, like, and I'll vary them, and then we'll move on to the topic. Maybe that, does that sound?
Yeah, we in some way, shape, we do that in the beginning, like for our talk shows, like we did meditation in the past, we have done exercise in the past, so that would be great. Thank you. Okay, make sure when you send a chat in Zoom, everyone, make sure it says send to everyone, okay? So that way you can make sure you send your messages to everyone so they could see it. But Ms. Deborah asked, I apologize if this is a repeat, but I was wondering if you have any options for home assistance. So I'm assuming it's like when you're in the home, like services that can assist you in the home. Do you have any recommendations, Tori?
If it's just like for a home health aid type of thing, I really don't, other than aging and community living is one resource to start at. They should theoretically be able to give you information or other resources to contact. So I would start there with DACL. Is that it?
Yeah, yes, I was gonna recommend that shape form too. So if you Google DACL's hotline number, you'll be able to connect with someone that can help with that. Okay, let me check out our poll. Okay, thank you all so much for filling out the poll. We've gotten, again, 75% of the responses. Appreciate that. Tori, do you want to let folks know the next topic now, or do you kind of want it to be a surprise?
We'll be a little surprised because I'll see what I'm going to put together. So, but I got that nutrition sounds important, and then as we change, so I got it.
Thank you so much. So I'll have the results. Really, I like the variety that you guys chose, and I also saved the chat for your suggestions as well. So, so yes, thank you so much for providing me the list for the poll, because I really think your sessions are very interesting, as many have said their thanks, and I really appreciate you coming on to today's session, Tori. And let's all thank Tori for coming on to today's session, and don't forget to stay on for our poll at the end. Thank you so much, Tori. Have a great rest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tori. Appreciate
Hey,
you.
Tori, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tori.
You all have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Session.
Thank you, Tori.
Next week coming soon. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Tori.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Right.